Nut Nerd Podcast, episode 268. Nothing in life is free.
Welcome to the Nut Nerd Podcast. I'm Nate Heath, and we are here to help you tech better. Here with me, as always, Mr. Dave Baylor.
Good day to you, sir. Mr. Nathan, as I like to say. Nathan
Yes.
Detroit. Even though
Nathan
you're not
Detroit.
From Detroit. Yeah.
No.
I know I've talked about this before, but I'm a fan of Guys and Dolls and Nathan Detroit. It's look it up. It's fun.
Yes, I have when you've made that reference before, because I was not familiar, have not seen that musical. Your musical theater knowledge is slightly higher than mine is.
It's beyond you, and sadly, it's been a long time since I've seen like a musical, so I need to make that happen.
Yes, someday. Well, let's get into some follow-up. So last week we were talking about the Ugandan elections and that the Ugandan government was just saying to block Facebook and social media and all that stuff. Well, I don't think that's working too well because some of the contacts I've made through Patrick's children when I was over in Uganda, I've connected with them on Facebook Messenger, and they've been messaging me all week. So not sure what the real story. I guess I could ask them. That would have made even more sense. But at least for Facebook Messenger, they are still able to do that.
Yeah, either they found a workaround or they're using some other source to get information through. I know VPNs are something that are widely used to connect to other servers and stuff. So who knows? Whenever the governments try to silence people in any way, shape, or form, there's always usually a workaround.
Yes. I think we've talked about this one before. There's been so many things that all the different streaming companies have tried out over the past year to keep people on their streaming service and keep people watching. But Netflix announced that they're going to roll out their Shuffle Play worldwide. So this is a feature where, like, under your profile picture in the menu, there's a little shuffle button, and based on the algorithm and AI, it will find something they think you want to watch. So it's just not how I use Netflix. If I go to Netflix, it's because there's something I know about most of the time or have my list of things that I've seen that I wanted to watch. But it looks like they did some testing on it, which is when I think we talked about it. But they're moving forward with it. Have you checked this out at all, Dave?
No, nothing I'm really interested in. I'm much like you. I watch what I want to watch. And if I don't know what I want to watch, they're constantly recommending other programs to the point of absurdity. For example, when a show ends, they don't even let the credits roll. They pop it up in the corner and here, watch this next or whatever. It drives me crazy. So I don't know why the shuffle thing would even need to be used. They're constantly reminding people of other content. Oftentimes on all the services, before your main program starts, there'll be a little commercial. Hey, watch this content. It's just, again, absurd. They test to see how much garbage they can throw at you before people finally revolt.
Yes. And we have lamented that Google Photos is making some changes. I believe it's June 1st. Photos and videos uploaded after that will count towards your Google Drive storage. I think they're still calling it at this point because they like to change names. But anything you've had in there, like I've got probably 40,000 photos in there, that's all going to remain free. So I'm still moving forward with Google Photos. I also, it's just where everything is. But you found an article reminding people about Amazon Photos, which, especially if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, which we have to believe most of our listeners are, and
we
viewers.
hope so. Yeah.
Yes. Quick sidestep reminder: we are doing the YouTube version. Thank you, Dave, for making that look great. We've been getting some traction over there, and it's really fun. So make sure you head over there, subscribe to our channel, ring that bell so that you'll know when the new episodes are out. The way I do video type podcasts is I like that, having that ability, but I'm usually not fully engaged. I don't put it on my TV to watch it. I have it playing, and then if something's mentioned or I pop in just to see what everybody's wearing that day and watch a little bit of it. But We are, Dave, you're editing again, putting some graphics on there if we're talking about a video, trying to get that in there. But we are still trying to keep focused on the audio podcast, so it's not going to be completely visual gags.
Yeah.
But you do have options now for consuming not nerd content.
Yeah, and apologies if you have noticed the audio quality has gone down. We now have to work around the video aspect, and so I can't cut out as much stuff as I did before, or else our video would look completely ridiculous with
Yes.
with a bunch of jump cuts about every
Yes,
2
a
seconds.
peek behind the curtain. I say and ah, and there's lots of things that Dave makes you not hear, which is very nice for you.
Yeah, so we're just gonna have to up our game as far as being more professional and more on our game. So that's okay.
Yes.
That's good for everyone.
Yes. So back to Amazon Photos, part of Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
They have a free unlimited photo service, but the catch is videos are limited. I think with Amazon Prime you get 10 gigs, which is like, depending on your videos, a couple videos. So I went and I set it up. I thought I had set it up before, but I started syncing all the photos from my computer and my phone and getting them all up there, so that because one backup is none backup.
That's
so
true.
I figured, hey, I'm already paying for Amazon Prime. I might as well have another copy of my photos. But it does get pretty expensive if you want to back up your videos too. So if you're already in Google Photos, you'll probably end up a wash eventually, paying for one or the other. But if you, for some reason, only ever take videos and don't have video or photos and don't have videos that you care about, you can use this, or just as another backup option, because we like our photos. We take a lot of photos, and you don't want to lose them.
Well, and one thing we need to remember too is, as much as all of us like to get free backup for our photos and documents and all this stuff, nothing in life is really free.
Yes.
And if photos and videos and these type of things are important to you, then you need to plan in the regular course of doing computer type work that you're going to need to spend some ongoing money to keep those things safe. I mean, we've all had old computers that we used for years, and then they just die one day and everything on the hard drive is gone. So if we don't want that to happen into the future, then we need to be responsible and back our items up. And unfortunately, but not unexpectedly, we're going to have to pay for that that benefit. I mean, nothing in life is free, so why should online storage and backup be free?
Yes. And so the storage pricing for Amazon Photos, you get 100 gigabytes, and then this again would only, if you have Amazon Prime, I believe this is let me check, click another button. Wow, you can get 30 terabytes of storage for $1,799.70 per year.
Wow.
That's a lot of storage, but they have 100 gigabyte for $20 a year, 1 terabyte for $60 a year. So it might, if you have a lot of video, that $60 a year might end up being cheaper than Google, but just wanted to mention that so that people know that there are alternatives to Google. Now, you might not like Google, you might not like Amazon, you might not like hard drives at your house, so you just have to weigh out what's the best option for you.
Mm-hmm.
But you should really like backing things up.
I agree.
Well, I also always agree with Dave's Pro Tip of the Week.
Now, if you tuned in last week, you'll remember that I kind of teased with our tap and hold.
Yes.
Our what is it, the Navy SEALs or the Green Berets
Yes.
tap and hold. Now, I mean, I'm sure they don't call it that, but I made the connection there that if you're going to be a successful user of your touch device, you need to figure out some of these hidden ways to use it. And the final one that I'm going to talk about actually applies both to the Mac and to your iOS device, but in slightly different ways. Now, if we go back to our iOS device, we're going to look at scroll bars. So I don't know, let's just randomly go into our web browser, for example, and I'm going to go on over to notnerd.com, which if you haven't visited our website in a while, now's an opportunity to do that. And don't forget, when you buy things on Amazon, visit our link, amazon.notnerd.com. And as I scroll up and down the site, you'll see on the sidebar a little line that will appear when I'm scrolling, and then it disappears when I stop scrolling. And this can be infuriating. So there are some features, especially on the Mac, to always make those visible. I haven't found a way for that to work on iOS, but there is a magic hidden trick with that sidebar. And before I show you the Mac trick to turn those on all the time, look what you can do with that scroll bar if you tap and hold it. It gives you the ability to scroll up and down the page super quick. Now we know that if you touch the top of the screen, it'll scroll clear to the top. But if you want to go to the bottom of the screen really quickly, tap and hold that little line on the sidebar, and you can just go straight down to the bottom. So that is the tap and hold trick that's going to help you navigate Safari web browsers, third-party web browsers. There's some applications like if you're on Reddit or Twitter or some of those other things that have a long feed, probably the Facebook app. I don't have it on my phone to try it out, but it's a contextual bar that appears when you're scrolling, and if you tap and hold it, you can zoom up and down rather quickly, and it is a great time saver. Now, heading on over to your Mac, because scroll bars are one of those things that I'm passionate about, and the lack of contextual situations is something I'm also very passionate about. I don't like contextual menu items. And so if you go to your settings on your Mac and you go into General, you will notice that there is a scroll bar section in the middle. It says show scroll bars, and your options are automatically when based on mouse or trackpad. That means when you're moving something around, they're magically going to appear. You can say, I want them to appear when I'm actually in the process of scrolling up and down. They'll show up over there. Or you can be like me and you can click the always function so that when you're in Safari, Brave browser, Chrome, whatever, or even in a window of your Finder or in a settings menu where there's a scroll bar on the side, it will always show up no matter what. Now, you may be different than me, but I always have that enabled because I don't like to hunt and peck and touch my mouse to make sure a feature is going to appear or disappear on my screen. So, Nate, did you know about these scroll bar tips? Are you privy to what I shared today?
I think I knew about the iOS one. Maybe you had told me about it. Maybe we discussed at some point in the podcast, but it's one that I forget about a lot. And then on my Mac, I just went in and looked, and I had it on automatically, and I switched it to always immediately because there is no reason I wouldn't want the scroll bar on the side of a window. So I don't know. It takes up so little real estate on the screen. Why? Well, it's Apple. They like to make things look very clean.
It makes sense somewhat on a touch device because you have to touch the screen to interact with it and you're moving the content around. But on a computer, you might be saying, well, I want to go up and down, but I don't see the handle to do so. Where's the little scroll bar?
Yeah.
And it can be frustrating when it's not there. So just go into the preferences, go into General, turn those babies on, and you don't have to ever worry about it again.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Well, on to our takes of the week. What some of you might have noticed if you do have the Facebook app on your phone, Friday night they had an issue that they are saying, Facebook is saying was a configuration issue, and apparently they logged everybody out of Facebook. And so you had to log back in, and some people were having problems if you have two-factor on, or mine, it happened on mine. I just clicked my little icon and I was right back in. So it was a very temporary issue for me. Maybe I hadn't been on there long enough that they'd kind of resolved the issue by that point. But if you were logged out of Facebook, nothing to be worried about. Nothing nefarious to be worried about that we know so far. But it looks like, it was a common problem. Of course, it started showing up on Twitter. So spread like wildfire, and everybody started to notice. But from what Facebook is telling us, there wasn't anything you need to worry about.
Well, I think maybe they're doing the world a favor of logging everyone out of their service. Maybe
Hey,
half of
it's
the
Friday
users
night.
won't log back in.
That's a good point. They probably would not be too excited about that. But yeah, from here on out, every Friday night, 5 p.m., they just log everybody out of Facebook for an evening. That would probably not be a bad idea. You're
That'd be
grounded
great.
from Facebook. I think we've talked about it before, alternative search engines, and most people, the vast majority of everyone in the world uses Google as their search engine if it's available to them on whatever device they're using. But we have talked about a little bit about DuckDuckGo, and I actually just this week had a couple people outside of the tech bubble asking me about DuckDuckGo and saying, hey, I heard about this. Google's out to get all my searches. How do I, what's the story with DuckDuckGo? And I said, if I need to find something, especially if it's not political, and I will remind people we are the most nonpartisan tech podcast on the internet, but if it's something not opinionated, I will say that instead of political. If it is something not opinionated, let's say, how do I fix the scroll bars on my Mac? Google, 9 times out of 10, is going to give you exactly what you need, probably some YouTube videos, that kind of thing. Now, if you're on the spectrum that we always talked about of security, DuckDuckGo is a very private web browser. It does a lot to protect you and your searches, but the results aren't going to be as good, is what I found. Dave, would you agree with that as a general classification?
I would say that's a good classification, although the gap is narrowing.
Yes.
I've been using DuckDuckGo exclusively on my phone and on my web browsers on my desktop computer, and 9 times out of 10 I find exactly what I'm looking for. I don't feel like I've been handicapped in any way by not using Google search. So there could be things that I'm missing out on when I do a search that I'm not finding.
Yeah.
But generally, when I use the DuckDuckGo search, what I'm looking for comes right up, and I'm able to use it. So I think it's a great alternative, and I don't think you're missing out on much. But it is true. There are times when there's very specific things that Google can find because it's a much older and more mature search engine, and of course Google being Google runs basically the entire internet. So but for the most part, if you use good search terms, DuckDuckGo is going to find exactly what you're looking for.
Yes, and I will say it's very similar to, we were just talking a few weeks ago, Google Maps and Apple Maps, where it used to just be Google Maps was everything, but now we both use Apple Maps because they have come so far. So much like that, DuckDuckGo has come a long ways. But back to the story I saw this week, DuckDuckGo surpasses 100 million daily search queries for the first time. So they are moving up in the world, and obviously since I've heard about it from a couple people are becoming more aware. We're looking at privacy and security and what these large tech companies know about us and being more aware of that. But yeah, so they just that was a major record for them. So 100 million daily searches they had this past week. So that's pretty impressive.
Well, be looking, hopefully in the future this doesn't happen, but be looking to see if Google is going to acquire DuckDuckGo. If they start to make a dent in Google's services, you're going to see maybe Facebook or even Apple or Google themselves gobbling up the competition. And I know there's some antitrust stuff, and being the nonpartisan tech podcast, our Congress has not always done the best when it comes to keeping companies apart. They allow all kinds of mergers and acquisitions to happen, which ultimately hurt the customer because these type of things can lead to less privacy for individuals. So I like it when they're spread out among multiple companies, and you can have options of companies like DuckDuckGo, which are very privacy centered, whereas Google is like, let's scrape every bit of information we can from the people and sell them advertising. So there is that big spectrum that we talked about just a few minutes ago. But when I hope that it all doesn't just get consolidated so that we don't have a choice. So my opinion is
Yes.
choice is good. So I hope that it continues into the future.
Yes, and they also do mention in the ZDNet article talking about how Signal and Telegram, which are secure messaging apps, have also been very popular. So this is really, really on people's radar, and there are options. Hopefully, it stays that way for more secure search and messaging and all of that good stuff.
Yep.
Well, more Google stuff, or actually Alphabet, the parent company of Google. The title of this article from Wired: Alphabet pops Loon's balloons, but won't call it a failure. And I also saw that somebody said Alphabet grounds Loon's balloons. So Loon was a project done by Alphabet. They do all kinds of projects. They're these huge weather type balloons where they had solar panels, and then they were providing internet service. And they were testing it out, and they're saying it wasn't a failure, but it's just not a sustainable method for providing internet access.
Well, how do they keep them where they want them? You know what I mean? They kind
Yeah.
of go up, and what if the wind blows them over the Pacific? They're not going to be really useful. But maybe they have that all calculated and figured out. I don't know.
Yes, yeah, and I think they were doing it in Kenya, which is very close to Uganda, where you don't have fiber into every home or anything close, so most of it is reliant on cell networks and everything. So they wanted to try to look at this option for making low-cost internet via balloons. And yeah, I've got so many questions, but not enough that I dug into it deep enough to have those answers for you.
Well, and let's not forget that Elon Musk and his company has a satellite array that they're currently actively launching more and more satellites that are in the future going to be providing low-cost internet access globally through satellites. So maybe this Loon balloon maybe they saw the writing on the wall. Who knows?
Yes. Yeah, let Elon do his thing. I'm trying to remember the timeline of when the Apple Watch came out along with the podcast, but I know one of the first mainstream smartwatches was the Pebble watch. We both had them. It was one of the big first Kickstarter projects. They were about $100, very simple, but at the time, they were a great smartwatch and much cheaper than, say, an Apple Watch. Well, the founder of Pebble has created a new app called Beeper. And the goal of this app is to become a universal chat app. So this is one thing for me, like Instagram direct messages, I'm not checking those. Facebook messages, I'm okay on that. Then you have, iOS or iMessages. There's all these different messaging platforms. So he set out to create this new app that would combine all of them. And it looks like it'll be probably a $10 a month subscription. And you might be saying, well, Apple, you guys are always talking about how messages is locked in. You can't do it anywhere. Well, they say they have iMessage working within the app, especially if you have a Mac, it's easy. But then there's this idea that they have jailbroken iPhone 4s that they have done something with so that they will send you one of these old iPhone 4s that will then somehow weirdly sync the messages with this app on your computer. It'll be very interesting, but it's got WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, iMessage, Android messages, Telegram, Twitter, Slack, Hangouts, Instagram, Skype, IRC, Matrix, Discord, Signal, and then the Beeper network, of course, their own chat service.
So you can either pay them $10 a month and do all this convoluted stuff that'll probably not work reliably, or you can just use an iOS device of your own at home. Buy a $300 or $400 phone and either use that or get an iPad and use that. Or it feels like this is one of those things where they're trying to find a solution for something that's not really a problem.
Yeah.
And when I say solution, it would be different if it were a real solution, but it's not. It's like baling wire and zip ties. This thing is gonna come
lot of moving
tumbling
pieces
to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all any of these companies have to do is change one little bit of their code, and it would probably break everything. So I'm guessing we probably won't hear much more about this one, but if that is something that you say I absolutely need it, please go check it out and let us know what you think.
Yeah, good luck.
Yes. I gave the disclaimer already, but there is a new administration in the United States government, and they made some updates to Whitehouse.gov. They've put in some accessibility features. They've done dark mode, which someday I need to look at doing that for the Not Nerd website, just because I do like dark mode. It's really fast. I'm clicking light mode, dark mode. They've got large size text and some other features. I was interested to find that most of it is built on WordPress, which is in my business what I use and my hobbies use to build all of my websites. So I like the fact that our government is using something like WordPress to build their website instead of, I mean, I'm sure they're spending a lot of money to have this website built and maintained, but not doing a completely custom thing like many government websites, which are just a horrible experience. And again, this mostly is informational. It's not, applying for programs or anything.
No, but, it's just some pictures and text, basically.
Yes. There was somebody did find, and I will put this in heavy quotes, an Easter egg in the website, which I often, if I'm going to check out a potential client or a website that I like or something about it, I'll right click on it and say view source on my computer, and then it'll bring up all the code. And somebody did this, which I'm sure lots of people did this, but there's a little, we need your help building back better. And then the USDS.gov website where you can apply to help them with their website. I did not apply myself, but this isn't a fun Easter egg where you click somewhere and there's a video of Biden dancing or something. It's they just put it in there, and I've seen this kind of thing before. It's like, hey, if you're looking at our code, we'd love to hire you. And our bonus odd take of the week, another one of these gems of a website that you found for us, Dave. It is patatap.com, P-A-T-A-T-A-P. And just one of those unique little things. You go there and make wonderful sounds and visualizations. It uses your keyboard. Press any key, A to Z or spacebar, and turn up your speakers.
It does work too on touch devices. It's a little bit different interface, but it does work. But yes, if you're on your computer, it's like a little soundboard for creative sounding stuff, and it gives you a little visual feedback to each thing, and the visual feedback changes to make it interesting. So anyway.
Do you know if there's a way to record what you're playing? I didn't see that, and I know a couple of the other funny little sites like this allowed you to record. I was thinking it would just be fun to have a little stinger of, what Not Nerd spells out on this, or your name or something like that, but I don't see a way. I know of ways to do it, but it doesn't look like they have anything built in. Maybe the iOS app has it.
I'm not familiar with that, but you can visit the App Store on your iOS device and download Patatap for $1.99, and you can have it on your iPad. So maybe if you download it, there's a way to record it. You could always do a recording of your screen or use some audio hijack or something like that. But I just found it. I thought it was fun, so I added it. So if you like these type of toys at home, just go to patatap.com and check it out.
Yes, very nice. It is fun. And you know what else is fun? Our picks of the week.
Yes, and Nate, I have something this week that it's technology, but it's a little bit outside of my normal experience, but it's kind of in an alignment with a PDX fast foodie. And this...
You got the Knork?
I didn't get the Knork. I have to admit, I showed my family a picture of the Knork, and I was not too kind to it, but I guess we just have to experience it to understand it.
Yeah.
But this item is something that I got for my wife for Christmas, and we use it every day, multiple times a day. And this is the Zulay Original Milk Frother Handheld Foam Maker for Lattes. And it goes on and on and on for the description.
Wow.
But this is one of those little handheld things that looks like an electric toothbrush with a small wire rod connected to a little, I don't know, whisk on the end of this rod.
Yes.
And it makes froth out of your milk. And so when we go to do our coffees now, we put a little bit of milk in a cup and we run this thing and it makes foam and we pour it on top of our coffee drink. And I mean, if you go to Starbucks and get lattes every day, this item could save you probably $10,000 a year by not having to go to Starbucks. And I don't typically add milk to my coffee. That's not something I typically do. But now it's my preferred way to drink my coffee. I put a little bit of non-caloric stevia sweetener in my thing, and then I pour some coffee on top of that, and then I get my frothed milk and I pour that on there, and I have a delicious treat that's low in calories. The milk is only, I mean, it's like just a tiny bit of milk, like a 2 tablespoons or something like that. So anyway, it's great. Do you have a frother at home that you use, Nate?
I do not use a frother, but I do think for Christmas also I got a immersion blender, which is like a very heavy duty version of what you got, and I think it has a frothing attachment. But I do cold brew coffee, and I add heavy cream to my cold brew, but I do not do any frothing. So maybe I'll have to try out some frothing and see what the craze is.
Well, I think what's great about it is it changes the texture of the milk, of course, and it separates it from the coffee so that it's not as mixed as it normally would. I don't know. It's just a different experience. And I find that, regardless of your opinion on milk, whether you're lactose
your political affiliations.
I'm just thinking if you're dietary, if you have dietary restrictions, or if you're lactose intolerant, or you can only handle a little bit of milk but not a lot, that this is a great way because you can make a lot of foam with a very little amount of milk. And so since it incorporates air into it, it makes it expand. So you're not getting any more milk, but it feels like you're getting a treat because it adds creaminess and texture. And anyway, I think it's just a lot of fun. But these babies, I did a lot of research. They'll run you about $20 depending on, when and where you buy it. But it's been well worth twice the price of what we paid for it. And it comes in a variety of colors, like a million colors. There's 39,711 ratings, 4.5 stars. I mean, this is the one to get.
Wow. That is cool. Yeah, I haven't even really had a chance to use my new immersion blender, so that might be a future pick of the week.
I'm interested to hear about it.
I think I can do that. Well, my pick of the week this week, full disclosure, my family and I got to experience COVID-19 over the first couple weeks of this new year. My wife and I had positive tests, and we're pretty sure that my daughter had it as well. And one of the things that I knew about, and then my wife had read some stuff, was a pulse oximeter. And now with my Apple Watch Series 6, there is a pulse oximeter built in. But we tried taking my watch off, putting it on my wife's wrist, getting her to test. It's not the easiest one. So we bought on Amazon the FL400 pulse oximeter, which it came in at about $18, comes with a nice carrying case. Pro tip, I got the bell here, and the pro tip, you'll open it up and you'll go, oh, do I need to go get some batteries? We've actually had 2 of these now, and both times the batteries were in the little pouch. So check there before you go to your battery door. But very simple. You put the batteries in, you put it on your finger, and after a few seconds, it will give you a pulse oximeter reading. So this is the amount of oxygen in your bloodstream.
Blood oxygen levels, yeah.
And, there we go. So it says mine is currently at 86%, which, oh no, I 98%. There we go. Sometimes it fluctuates a little bit, and I was flicking my finger around furiously while I was trying to read. But blood oxygen is a very important part of COVID-19 severity with the virus, and that's kind of one of the things that they want to know when you're going into the hospital. It's usually related to low blood oxygen, or that's a good symptom that there might be something more serious happening. So $18 to have one of these around if you don't have an Apple Watch Series 6 or another way to do it.
Much cheaper than an Apple Watch, that's for sure.
Yes. But I haven't figured out how to get my message notifications on the tiny pulse oximeter yet.
Yeah.
But,
my experience with those inexpensive medical devices for measuring stuff is that they sometimes work great as far as syncing data back and forth. You shouldn't plan on that when you're spending so little on these devices.
Yeah.
I mean, they work by reading it and displaying it on the screen, but incorporating that data into your digital lifestyle is very hit and miss. So,
yes. And this doesn't actually have that stuff on it. But, yeah, there's a million of them on Amazon, under $20. And then the other one we got was one from Walmart, and I think that was $40.
Wow.
But we had them both, and we're doing testing and getting the same readings. So I said, the one's going back to Walmart because this one's half the price.
Yeah, totally.
So, but I guess I kind of left you dangling on that. We are all, as far as we know, recovered from COVID-19. I had a very minor case, just a few barely symptoms. My wife had a little worse with like a bad flu for a couple days, but even she's feeling better. And our daughter, she had a fever for less than 2 days, and then was right back to being a 4.5-year-old at full speed.
Yeah, I'm so glad it didn't affect you guys too gravely.
Yes. I was able to keep the podcast going, so that's what's most important. You didn't even notice.
I did a
podcast episode with COVID-19.
Yeah.
So, yes. Well, our Ramazon purchase of the week this week, we love it. As Dave mentioned earlier, if you just type in amazon.notnerd.com to a web browser on your phone or your computer, or visit our website and click on any of the links, we're part of their affiliate program, and we get a little kickback. They keep shrinking that kickback of what percentage we get on things, but it does help us pay for the podcast hosting and our luxurious lifestyles as well.
Yes.
But we do get an anonymous report and can kind of see what people are buying, so you can track which links of ours are working. And we do see some of our picks of the week and stuff from our show notes that show up on there. This week, we have something. Dave, this could have been you. I could see you getting into this. Maybe Todd, too. He's into the science stuff. This is the periodic tableware laboratory flask cocktail shaker set.
Well, I'm not much of a drinker, so I don't have any cocktail paraphernalia around, so it wasn't me, but it could have been Todd.
Yes, it could have been. So what this is, it's they're all shaped like beakers, if you will, and have some measurements on them and different periodic table things. And then there is one large one. So there's looks like 4 shot glass size, and then one large one, where you would mix your cocktails. There's plenty of non-alcoholic cocktails out there.
Oh, that's true. Or it could be a gift for somebody,
Yes, Dave, and I tried to send you a picture. Did that come through?
Let's take a look here.
Full disclosure, I had an exciting computer week. Another sidestep. My MacBook Pro had a battery message. I got a M1 Mac Mini, transferred all my data over there, took my laptop into Apple. They gave it back a day later with updated firmware. The message is gone and transferred. So I did about 3 computer transfers this week because that's what I do. And so my messages aren't working quite well on my Mac. But Dave, let me get you a photo of this beaker. And listeners at home, hopefully you're quantifying a price here. And let me give you some other details while that photo hopefully comes through to you.
I got it. Thank you.
5 stars on 21 ratings, and the bullet points: hard science meets iconic design, Make, shake, stir, and pour your cocktail experiments with scientific flair. Comes complete with shaker set and 4 shot glasses. Dishwasher safe.
Wow. Well, I'm going to go. I have no idea what this stuff costs, but it's made of glass, so that's probably more expensive to make and ship than plastic. And it comes with a little, looks like a measuring tool or something.
Yeah, some measuring and straining tools.
And it's alcohol related, so I'm going to go. This might be high, but I don't want to undershoot it. I'm going to say $34.99.
Well, hopefully you are closer than Dave. This comes in at $50.
Ooh.
So this is definitely a higher end novelty.
Well, from the photo,
$50.
It's hard to tell from the photo because it doesn't look all that from the photo. It's just 4 little glass things that looks like you get at your school science room. But maybe maybe I don't know. Again, in your experience with alcohol, is this something that you think is worth around that price?
I don't know. I've got, dollar shot glasses from Vegas, the Vegas airport, that kind of thing.
That's what I'm talking about.
But I could see if I know some people, actually can think of a guy, he's a scientist as a profession and also loves cocktails and this kind of stuff. I could totally see, $50 on this. I went to the periodic tableware shop on Amazon, and I did not mention that our glassware is all individually handcrafted from borosilicate and CaCO3 Na20 glass. Accessory parts are in-house modified from genuine laboratory equipment and made in our Shelton, Connecticut factory. So actually that might have been helpful just to hear how they're doing the pitch that this is quality stuff.
And made in the USA always adds 10 or 20% as well. So, I got to have those facts if I'm going to pick it properly, Nate. You know this. You know this about me.
Yes. Well, $50 for that. And if it was you that purchased that or bought it for somebody else or got it as a gift, let us know. We'd love to know how it's working and what drinks you're making with it. But with that, I think we will wrap up this episode. And thank you so much for listening and watching and asking questions and communicating to us. We love hearing from you guys. And if you have any questions, if you want to submit a video, audio, whatever you want to do to be a part of the podcast, we like that. Make sure you subscribe in your favorite podcast app as well as on YouTube. Why not do both?
Do both.
Can you not handle, you get so many notifications every day. Can you not handle 2 notifications from Not Nerd?
I think I can.
Well, if Dave can, if Dave can handle 2 more notifications, anybody can. So I will leave you with that so you can get out there and tech better.
All right. How long was that second? Is this what we're doing now? Are we going to kiss?
Wow, that actually looks really good on my end.